Zainab Okafor opened her eyes slowly as the morning sun came through the bedroom window. She smiled. Today was special. Today was her 32nd birthday. She had lived long enough to understand many things about life, but on this day she still felt the same excitement she had felt as a child waiting for birthday gifts and cake. She turned to look at her husband Chukwu. He was still sleeping. She watched him for a moment, thinking about how they had met 7 years ago at a friend's wedding in Lagos. He had asked for her number before the ceremony ended. She had said yes because something in his eyes made her feel like she mattered. Now, after 7 years of marriage, they lived together in a nice house in Lagos with good furniture and a garden. Chukwu managed an import business. Zainab planned events for rich people and big companies. They seemed like a happy couple to everyone who knew them. Zainab got out of bed and walked to the mirror. She looked at herself. Her skin was smooth and brown, her hair was long and black. She had a strong face with kind eyes. She wore a simple nightgown. She wondered what Chukwu had planned for her birthday. He had told her 2 days ago that he had a big surprise. He had said, "Trust me, Zainab. Your birthday this year will be something you will never forget." She had believed him. She had trusted him. She went to the kitchen and made tea. She sat down and thought about her life. She owned her own business as an event planner. She had worked very hard to build it. People in Lagos knew her name. They called her when they wanted to plan big parties, weddings, and business conferences. She was good at her work. She was creative and smart. But sometimes she felt tired. Sometimes she felt like she was living someone else's life instead of her own life. The day moved slowly. Zainab waited for Chukwu to do something special. She waited for him to bring her flowers or take her somewhere nice. But he was busy working on his computer. He made phone calls. He seemed normal like any other day. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he finally looked at her and smiled. "Are you ready?" he asked. "Ready for what?" Zainab asked. "Your surprise," he said. "Go and put on your best dress. Something nice. We are going somewhere special today." Zainab's heart jumped with happiness. She ran to the bedroom and opened her wardrobe. She had a beautiful red dress that she had bought for a special occasion but had never worn. She put it on. She fixed her hair. She put on makeup. She looked in the mirror and liked what she saw. She felt beautiful. She felt like a queen. When she came out of the bedroom, Chukwu was waiting for her with a big smile on his face. But there was something strange in his smile. It was not the smile of a man who loved his wife. It was the smile of a man who was keeping a secret. A secret that made him happy for reasons she did not understand. "You look beautiful," he said. "Now close your eyes. I want to surprise you." Zainab closed her eyes. She felt Chukwu put a soft cloth around her eyes. It was a blindfold. She could not see anything. She heard him take her hand. "Trust me," he whispered. "Just trust me." They walked to the car. He helped her sit in the front seat. She heard him close the door. Then he started driving. Zainab sat in the darkness thinking about where they might be going. Maybe a fancy restaurant? Maybe a hotel by the beach? Maybe he had booked a room at a nice place in Victoria Island? Her mind made pictures of all the wonderful things that might happen. The car drove for a long time. An hour passed. Then another hour. Zainab began to wonder. Where were they going? The drive seemed very long. But she did not ask. She did not want to ruin the surprise. Finally the car stopped. Zainab felt Chukwu take her hand again. "Okay," he said. "I am going to remove your blindfold now. Get ready for your surprise." He removed the cloth from her eyes. Zainab blinked in the sunlight. She looked around. Her heart stopped. She was standing in front of her own house. The same house where she lived with Chukwu. The same cream-colored walls. The same red roof. The same garden with the same flowers she had planted herself. Nothing was different. Nothing was special. She turned to look at Chukwu. His face was laughing. He was laughing very hard. "What is this?" she asked quietly. "Happy birthday," he said, still laughing. "This is just a prank, babe. You should have seen your face. You looked so confused and disappointed. It was so funny." Zainab did not laugh. She did not smile. She stood very still. Chukwu handed her a piece of paper. His handwriting was not neat. It was careless. The note said, "This is just a prank, babe. You should see your face. I am going to Accra for a business trip. Very urgent meeting came up. I will be back in 2 weeks. Happy birthday." "See. I have to go now," Chukwu said. "My flight is in 3 hours. I will call you from Accra. Enjoy your birthday." He got back in the car and drove away. Zainab stood alone on the front steps of her own house, holding a careless note from her husband. She watched his car disappear into the traffic of Lagos. She stood there for a long time. She did not move. She did not cry. She just stood there trying to understand what had happened. She tried to understand how the man she had trusted could do this to her. How he could make her feel so stupid and so small on a day that was supposed to be hers. 3 days later, Zainab learned something worse. Her friend Folake had heard from another friend who had heard from someone else at a nightclub in Victoria Island. Chukwu had gone to that nightclub 3 days before her birthday. He had sat with his friends and told them all about his plan. He had described how he would blindfold her. How he would make her think something wonderful was going to happen. How he would bring her to their own house and laugh at her face. He had described her disappointment like it was a funny story. His friends had laughed with him. They had thought it was funny. That night, Zainab sat alone in her kitchen. Her birthday decorations were still hanging on the walls. She had put them up days before, thinking about how happy she would be. She looked at them now and felt something break inside her. Not her heart exactly. Something deeper. She looked at the decorations and realized the truth. She had lost herself. The woman who had built a successful business, who was known in Lagos for her talent and her smart mind, had been slowly disappearing. She had been disappearing into the shadow of a man who did not even value her enough to plan one real birthday celebration. A man who thought making her feel small was funny. Zainab sat in her office 3 weeks after her birthday. She had not seen Chukwu. He had sent messages from Accra asking her to forgive him. He said the prank had been a mistake. He said all his friends had thought it was funny and he had wanted to be funny too. But his messages felt empty to her now. They felt like words from a stranger. Her best friend Folake came to see her that afternoon. Folake worked as a nurse at a big hospital in Lagos. She was one of the few people who knew Zainab's real feelings. She sat down in Zainab's office and looked at her with worried eyes. "You look tired," Folake said. "You look like someone who is carrying a heavy bag but does not know how to put it down." "I am fine," Zainab said. But she was not fine. "No, you are not," Folake said. "Listen to me. You need to leave Lagos for a while. You need to go somewhere and remember who you are before Chukwu. Do you remember? You were different then. You were happier. You laughed more. You dreamed bigger things." Zainab had not thought about this before. But Folake was right. She had changed. Somewhere between her first meeting with Chukwu and now, she had changed into someone smaller. Someone who waited for her husband to make her happy instead of making herself happy. "Where should I go?" Zainab asked. "Accra," Folake said immediately. "My sister lives there. The weather is beautiful. The people are friendly. Go and stay for 1 week. Just you and the ocean and your own thoughts. You will feel better." Zainab thought about this idea. She thought about it for 2 days. Then she made a decision. She told her workers that she would be away for 1 week. She booked a flight to Accra. She packed a small bag with some clothes and her favorite book. She did not tell Chukwu. She just left. The flight was short. 1 hour and she was in Accra. Folake's sister, whose name was Amma, met her at the airport. Amma was warm and kind. She took Zainab to a small hotel by the beach in a place called OSU. The hotel was not very expensive, but it was beautiful. From the window, Zainab could see the Atlantic Ocean. She could hear the sound of the waves. On the 3rd evening, Zainab wanted to eat dinner alone. She did not want to stay in her hotel room. She did not want to watch television or read. She wanted to sit outside and feel the ocean air and think about her life. She found a small restaurant on the waterfront. It had tables outside where she could see the water. The sun was going down, making the sky orange and pink. She sat at a table alone and ordered grilled fish and rice. The waiter brought her cold orange juice. She looked out at the ocean and felt something inside her relax. In Lagos she was always busy. She was always planning someone else's events. She was always trying to make everyone else happy. Here she was just herself. A woman looking at the ocean. That was enough. A waiter came to her table and accidentally spilled red wine on the cloth near her plate. He looked very scared. He thought she would be angry. But Zainab just smiled. She helped him clean it up. She told him not to worry. It was just an accident. An old man sitting at the next table had watched this happen. He saw how kind Zainab was. He saw how she smiled at the nervous waiter. When the waiter left, the old man got up and came to her table. "May I sit?" he asked politely. Zainab looked up at him. He was a tall man, maybe 68 years old. He had dark skin and white hair. He wore an expensive shirt and nice shoes. But his face was kind. It was not the face of someone who was trying to impress people. "Of course," Zainab said. "I am Victor Mensa," the old man said. "I saw how you treated that waiter. Most people would have been angry about the spilled wine. But you were kind. That told me something about your character. Thank you, Zainab said. I am Zainab Okafor. I am from Lagos, Nigeria. They talked for a long time. Victor told her about his life. He had built his money from business. He owned ships that carried things across the ocean. He owned land in Ghana and other countries. But he said money was not the most important thing to him anymore. Now he wanted to use his money to help women in Africa. He wanted to give women chances to start their own businesses. He wanted to give them power. Zainab listened to him talk. She was surprised. She had never met a man like this before. He was rich, but he was not proud. He was old, but he was not boring. He really cared about helping people. What do you do? Victor asked Zainab. She told him about her event planning business in Lagos. She told him how she planned weddings and parties and business conferences. She told him how she loved her work. Victor's eyes became bright. That is exactly what I need, he said. I'm starting a new program. A Women Empowerment Foundation. I want to help African women start their own businesses. I need someone who understands how to organize big events. Someone who can bring people together. Someone with a creative mind. What are you asking me? Zainab said carefully. I am asking if you would come and work with me, Victor said. Not as a regular job. As a consultant. I will pay you well. You would help me plan conferences and meetings where we bring together women entrepreneurs from all over West Africa. You would help me organize training programs. You would help me build something that will change women's lives. Zainab's heart beat faster. This was something she had never expected. This man was offering her something more than a job. He was offering her a purpose. I need to think about it, she said. Of course, Victor said. He gave her his card. Call me tomorrow. Or call me next week. Take your time. I will wait. That night, Zainab could not sleep. She looked out at the dark ocean and thought about Victor's offer. She thought about her life in Lagos. She thought about Chukwu waiting for her to come back so he could tell her another joke. She thought about her mother, who wanted her to stay in her marriage no matter what. She thought about her business that kept her busy but did not make her happy anymore. The next morning she made a decision. She called Victor. Yes, she said. I will work with you. You are sure? Victor asked. I am sure, Zainab said. I am choosing myself for the first time in a very long time. And I am choosing this. She could hear Victor smiling through the phone. You have made a good choice, he said. Your life is about to change in ways you cannot imagine. Zainab did not know it yet, but he was right. Her life was about to change completely. And it would be better than she had ever dreamed. Zainab signed the papers in Victor's office in Accra. The office was on the top floor of a tall building. From the window she could see the whole city. She could see the ocean in the distance. Victor's secretary, a woman named Amma, brought her tea and smiled warmly. Everything felt new. Everything felt possible. Victor showed her the foundation's plans. He had big dreams. He wanted to help women across Ghana, Nigeria, Benin, Côte d'Ivoire, and other West African countries. He wanted to give them money to start businesses. He wanted to teach them how to lead. He wanted to show them that they could be powerful. I need you to be my director, Victor said. I need someone who understands women entrepreneurs. Someone who can speak their language. Someone who can organize and plan. That is you, Zainab. 2 weeks later, Zainab was on a boat with Victor. Not just any boat. It was a beautiful yacht. It was called Dream Keeper. Victor kept it anchored near Accra, but he used it to travel along the coast. He said the boat helped him think clearly. He said the ocean made him feel young again. They sailed to the coast of Benin first. There they visited a small village where women were making cloth and selling it in the market. The women were poor, but they were smart and creative. They knew how to make beautiful patterns. But they did not have money to buy better materials. They did not know how to reach customers outside their village. Zainab sat with these women and listened to them. She listened to their problems. She listened to their dreams. One woman named ESI wanted to start a bigger business. She wanted to sell her cloth to hotels and rich people. Another woman named Akojua wanted to teach other women how to make cloth. She wanted to create jobs for people in her village. Zainab took notes. She made plans. She talked to Victor about these women. Together they decided to give money to both ESI and Akojua. They decided to help them start their businesses. Over the next 6 months, Zainab traveled to so many places. She traveled by car and by boat and by plane. She went to cities and villages. She met women who made soap. She met women who grew vegetables. She met women who were teachers and doctors and artists. She met women with dreams as big as the sky, but who had no money to make those dreams real. Every place she went, Victor went with her. He watched how she talked to the women. He watched how she listened. He watched how she made the women feel important and valued. He saw something in her that made him feel things he had not felt in many years. One evening they were on the yacht near the coast of Côte d'Ivoire. The sun was going down. The sky was orange and red and purple. They stood on the deck of the boat together. The ocean was calm. The air was warm and soft. "You have changed," Victor said to Zainab. "What do you mean?" she asked. "When I first met you in Accra, you were sad," Victor said. "You were carrying something heavy inside you. You looked like someone who had forgotten how to smile. But now you are different. Now you smile every day. Now you laugh. Now you look alive." Zainab thought about this. He was right. She had changed. She did not wake up tired anymore. She did not feel small anymore. She had a purpose. She was helping women. She was building something important. Every day she felt like she was doing something that mattered. "I feel alive," she said. "For the first time in many years I feel like I am living my own life. Not someone else's life. My own." Victor looked at her for a long time. The wind moved her hair. The ocean made soft sounds below them. "I think I am in love with you," he said quietly. Zainab did not look away. She did not feel scared. She felt calm. She felt like this was the right moment. The right words at the right time. "I think I am in love with you too," she said. They did not kiss immediately. They just stood there looking at each other as the sun went down. They stood there as the sky became dark. They stood there until the first stars came out. The next morning, Zainab woke up in her cabin on the yacht. She could hear Victor making breakfast in the kitchen. She could smell eggs and bread. She got up and went to the kitchen. Victor was there and he was smiling like a young man. "Good morning," he said. "I made breakfast for you." They ate together and talked about the women they had met. They talked about the businesses they were building. They talked about their dreams for the foundation. And somewhere in the middle of breakfast, Victor reached across the table and held Zainab's hand. Over the next 3 months, Zainab and Victor grew closer. They were not like young lovers. They did not hold hands all the time or kiss in public. But they were something deeper. They were friends who respected each other. They were partners who shared the same values. They were two people who had both felt lonely in their lives, and who had found each other at exactly the right time. Zainab organized big conferences in Accra and Lagos. She brought together women entrepreneurs from across West Africa. She sat on stage and talked about women's power and women's dreams. Victor sat in the audience and watched her. He was proud of her. He was proud of what she was doing. One evening after a big conference in Accra, Victor took Zainab to a quiet place by the ocean. He brought wine and chocolate. He brought flowers. "I have something for you," he said. He showed her a small box. Inside was a beautiful ring. Not a marriage ring. Not yet. But a ring that meant something. A ring that meant promise. "Zainab," he said, "you have changed my life. You came into my life when I thought I was finished with big feelings and big dreams. You reminded me that life is still beautiful. You reminded me that love is still possible. I do not want to live without you. Will you stay with me? Will you build this foundation with me? Will you share your life with me?" Zainab put on the ring. It fit perfectly on her finger. She looked at it and then at Victor. "Yes," she said. "Yes to everything." They stood by the ocean as the sun went down. Zainab thought about her birthday in Lagos. She thought about Chukwu and his cruel joke. She thought about how broken she had felt. And now here she was standing with a man who valued her. A man who respected her. A man who loved her for who she really was. She had come so far from that day. She had left behind the woman who was small and sad. She had become the woman she was always supposed to be. She had found her purpose. She had found her love. She had found herself. The wind moved through her hair. The ocean moved below her. The sky was full of stars. And Zainab Okafor stood there, finally, completely, truly alive. Zainab was in her new office in Lagos. Yes, she had decided to keep her event planning business open, but now she also worked for Victor's foundation. She sat at her desk, looking at plans for a women's conference. Her phone rang. It was her secretary. "There is a man here to see you," the secretary said. "He does not have an appointment. He says it is very important. His name is Chukwu." Zainab's heart stopped. She had not seen Chukwu in 8 months. She had not heard his voice in 3 months. She thought he had accepted that she was gone. She thought he had moved on. "Send him in," she said quietly. Chukwu walked through the door. He looked different. He looked smaller somehow. His face was tired. He had lost weight. He wore a shirt that did not fit him well anymore. When he saw Zainab, he stopped walking. He just stared at her. Zainab had changed too. Her hair was styled differently. She wore expensive clothes that fit her well. She sat up straight in her chair with confidence. Her face was peaceful. She looked like a woman who knew her own value. "Hello, Chukwu," she said calmly. "Zainab," he said. His voice was shaky. You look different." "I am different," she said. "Please sit down." Chukwu sat in the chair across from her. He looked at her like he was looking at a stranger. "I came to tell you something," he said. "I came to ask you to forgive me. That prank, it was stupid. It was cruel. I've thought about it every day since you left. I have regretted it every single day." Zainab listened. She did not feel anger anymore. She did not feel pain anymore. She felt nothing but calm. "Why did you do it?" she asked. Chukwu looked down at his hands. "I was insecure," he said. "You were becoming more successful than me. Your business was growing. Everyone knew your name. People called you for big projects. But my business was staying small. I felt small. I felt like I was losing you. So I did something stupid. I tried to make you feel small so I would not feel so small. I know it makes no sense. But that is what I did." "That makes sense," Zainab said. "It makes sad sense. But it does not change anything." "I know you are with someone now," Chukwu said. "I have heard the stories. An old man. A billionaire from Ghana." "Zainab, what are you doing? You married me. We made promises to each other." "We did," Zainab said. "And you broke those promises when you decided to humiliate me on my birthday. You broke those promises when you made me the joke of Lagos nightclubs. You broke those promises when you made me feel like nothing." "I know," Chukwu said. Tears came to his eyes. "I know, and I am sorry. But please come home. Come back to me. We can try again. I have changed. I promise you I have changed." Zainab felt something in her chest. It was not love. It was not even pity. It was something smaller. It was the feeling of recognizing someone you used to know. "I forgive you," she said. "I truly do. But I cannot come back. I am not the woman who needs your validation anymore. I do not need you to make me feel important. I make myself feel important. I do not need you to plan my happiness. I plan my own happiness." "But Zainab," Chukwu started. "Listen to me," she said, and her voice was strong. "That woman who waited for you to notice her, that woman who made herself small so you would feel big, that woman is gone. She had to die so that I could live. And I am living now, Chukwu. I am truly living for the first time." Chukwu sat there for a long time. Then he got up and left. He did not say anything else. He just left. Zainab watched him go and she felt nothing but peace. But the hardest conversation came a week later. Her mother called her and asked her to come home. Zainab went to her mother's house in Ikeja. Her mother was sitting in the living room. Her father was there too. Her aunties were there. Her whole family was waiting for her. "We need to talk about this man," her mother said. The tone of her voice was not angry, but it was serious. "This Victor. He is old, Zainab. He is very old. He is 68 years old. You are only 32. "I love him," Zainab said. "You think you love him," her mother said. "But you are confused right now. You are hurt from your marriage. You are running away." "I am not running away," Zainab said. "I am running toward something. I am running toward a life that makes sense." Her father spoke up. "What will people say?" he asked. "People will talk about you. They will say you married an old man for his money." "Let them talk," Zainab said. "I do not live my life for people's words. I live my life for my own happiness." One of her aunties started crying. "But you should be having babies," she said. "At your age you should be having babies with a young, strong man." Zainab felt anger come to her then. Not hot anger. Cool, clear anger. "I do not want babies right now," she said. "Maybe I will want them later. Maybe I will not. But that is my choice. My life is not about having babies. My life is about building something important. My life is about helping women across Africa start their own businesses. My life is about me and what makes me happy." Her mother looked at her for a long time. The room was very quiet. "Tell me the truth," her mother said. "Do you love this man?" "Yes," Zainab said. "I do. But more than that, he respects me. He values me. He makes me feel like my thoughts matter. He makes me feel like my dreams matter." Her mother stood up and walked to the window. She looked out at the street for a long time. Then she turned back to Zainab. "When I was your age," her mother said, "I wanted to be a doctor. I was smart enough. I was strong enough. But I married your father instead. He asked me to stop studying. He asked me to stay home and have babies. I did what he asked because that is what women did then. But I have always wondered what I could have become. The room was very quiet. I see you becoming something, her mother said. I see you becoming a woman who is powerful. A woman who makes her own choices. A woman who is not small. And I was wrong to want you to be small. I was wrong to want you to come back to that marriage. I want you to be happy, Zainab. I want you to build your life the way you want to build it. Her mother came to her and held her. Zainab put her head on her mother's shoulder. She cried, but they were good tears. They were the tears of finally being understood. Will you support me? Zainab asked. Yes, her mother said. Yes, I will support you. And I want to meet this Victor. I want to see the man who makes my daughter so happy. 3 weeks later, Victor came to Zainab's mother's house for dinner. He brought flowers. He brought wine. He was polite and kind. He talked to Zainab's father about business. He talked to her mother about her dreams. By the end of the night, her mother was smiling at him like he was her own son. As Zainab sat at the dinner table with her family and Victor, she thought about the birthday prank. She thought about how broken she had felt that day. She thought about how she had wanted to disappear. But she had not disappeared. She had transformed. She had chosen herself. And now, looking around the table at the people she loved, she knew she had made the right choice. She was no longer the woman who needed to be rescued. She was the woman who had rescued herself. The beach in Accra was beautiful on the day of the wedding. It was not a big wedding. It was not the kind of wedding with hundreds of guests and expensive decorations. It was something better. It was a wedding filled with meaning. Zainab stood in a small room near the beach, wearing a simple white dress. The dress was not fancy, but it was beautiful. It had been made by a woman named Esi, one of the first entrepreneurs that Zainab and Victor had helped. Esi had started her own clothing business with the foundation's money. Now she made clothes for important people. She had made this dress as a gift to Zainab. Zainab looked at herself in the mirror. She did not recognize the woman looking back at her. This woman was confident. This woman was radiant. This woman was whole. Her friend Folake came to help her. Folake had traveled from Lagos for the wedding. You look beautiful, Folake said, and she was crying happy tears. Do you remember when you were broken? Do you remember when you thought your life was over? I remember, Zainab said. But that feels like a lifetime ago. That feels like it happened to someone else. The wedding ceremony was held on the beach as the sun went down. There were about 100 people there. All of them were women entrepreneurs that Zainab and Victor had helped. There were women from Ghana, Nigeria, Benin, Côte d'Ivoire, and Senegal. Some of them had come with their families. Some had brought their children. The children played on the sand while the adults watched the ceremony. Victor stood at the front, waiting for Zainab. He wore a simple suit. His white hair was like silver in the sunset light. When he saw Zainab walking toward him, his face changed. He smiled like a man who had won everything he had ever wanted. They exchanged simple rings. They did not write long vows. They did not need to. Everyone who knew them understood what they meant to each other. Victor held Zainab's hand as they stood before a woman who performed the ceremony. The woman was a judge from Ghana, a woman who believed in women's power. Do you, Victor, promise to support Zainab in her dreams? The judge asked. I do, Victor said. For the rest of my life. Do you, Zainab, promise to build a beautiful life with Victor? I do, Zainab said. With all my heart. After the ceremony, the women entrepreneurs gathered around them. They sang. They danced. They celebrated. Each woman came to Zainab and told her how her life had changed because of the foundation. Some had started businesses that were now successful. Some had hired other women and created jobs. Some were saving money to send their children to school. Some had dreams they never thought were possible, and now those dreams were becoming real. One woman named Akojua held Zainab's hands. You gave me my life back, she said. When I got money from the foundation, I was able to leave a bad husband. I was able to build my own business. Now I own my own house. Now I am powerful. You did that, Zainab. Zainab cried hearing this. Not sad tears. Happy tears. That night, Zainab and Victor stood on the deck of the Dreamkeeper yacht. The party had ended. The women had gone home. The beach was quiet. The ocean was calm. There was nothing but moonlight and stars and the sound of gentle waves. We did good today, Victor said. We did more than good, Zainab said. We changed lives. Victor put his arm around her. They stood there together looking at the water. Over the next year, the foundation grew bigger and stronger. Zainab was no longer just working with Victor. She was leading. She was making decisions. She was hiring people. She was organizing big conferences where women entrepreneurs met and shared their stories and learned from each other. The foundation expanded to 5 countries. They gave money to over 200 women's businesses. Some women were making soap. Some were growing food. Some were running schools. Some were building construction companies. Some were starting tech businesses. All of them were changing their lives and their communities. Zainab worked from many places. Sometimes she worked from an office in Accra. Sometimes she worked from an office in Lagos. But her favorite place to work was the yacht. The dream keeper became her sanctuary. She would sit on the deck with her computer and her phone, and she would build the future for African women. One evening, exactly 1 year after their wedding, Zainab stood alone on the deck of the yacht. The sun was going down. The sky was full of colors. Orange and pink and purple and red. The colors reflected on the water like a painting. Victor came and stood beside her. He knew not to speak. He knew that sometimes Zainab needed to be quiet and think. Zainab thought about her journey. She thought about that morning when she woke up excited for her birthday. She thought about Chukwu's cruel laugh. She thought about how broken she had felt. She thought about how she had wanted to disappear. But she had not disappeared. Instead, she had transformed. "I have been thinking," Zainab said to Victor. "That prank was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But it was also the best thing that ever happened to me." "How do you mean?" Victor asked. "It forced me to choose," Zainab said. "It forced me to decide if I would keep living a small life or if I would become big. It forced me to choose myself. And when I chose myself, everything changed." She looked at the sunset and felt peaceful. "I am not defined by what I lost," she continued. "I am not defined by Chukwu or my broken marriage or my pain. I am defined by what I have built. I am defined by the women whose lives have changed because of me. I am defined by my love for you. I am defined by my own strength." Victor took her hand. "You are the strongest woman I have ever known," he said. "I know," Zainab said, and she smiled. She was not being proud. She was just being honest about who she had become. The next morning, Zainab woke up on the yacht. She could hear Victor making breakfast. She could see the sun coming through the window. She felt the boat moving gently on the water. She got up and went to join Victor. He had made her favorite breakfast. They sat together and talked about the day. They talked about a new program they wanted to start. They talked about a woman in Senegal who wanted to build a business but needed help. And as they talked, Zainab realized something. She was not just living her best life. She was building a life that mattered. A life that had purpose. A life that was changing the world. She was no longer the woman who waited for someone to make her happy. She was the woman who created her own happiness. She was no longer the woman who was small. She was the woman who was powerful. And every day she woke up grateful for the birthday prank that had broken her into pieces, because from those pieces she had built something beautiful. She had built a life that was truly her own. The yacht moved through the water, carrying Zainab toward her future. And that future was bright. That future was full of possibility. That future was everything she had always deserved.